class. So this is our video lecture on the third cradle of civilization, the Indus River Valley. Around the same time that civilization first appeared in Mesopotamia and Egypt, the first signs of civilization also began to appear in India around 3000 BCE in the form of cities and towns close to the Indus River. Not much remains of the Indus Valley, or sometimes it's called the Harappan civilization, which flourished between 3000 and about 1900 BCE. In this area, there there are the remains of two large cities, an assortment of seals used to identify trade goods, and brief inscriptions in a pictographic Harappan script that have not yet been deciphered. Um, the two largest Harappan cities are Harappa itself and Mohenjo-daro, farther to the south. Also, more than 70 towns have been uncovered, stretching all along the length of the Indus River Valley. Harappan civilization covered roughly 500,000 square miles, making it larger in geographic area than either Mesopotamia or ancient Egypt. Its golden age lasted from about 2500 to about 2000 BCE. Even across this vast settlement, the Harappan cities are remarkably similar, and the general plan of the cities is pretty much the same. Most buildings are low and wide, made of baked mud bricks, which were also used for dams, culverts, canals, and docks, like the one at Lafau, um, which was connected to the sea by about a mile-long canal. There were well-planned streets equipped with elaborate gutter and drainage systems, and the large cities had enormous swimming pool-sized baths. Here are the remains of the citadel of Mohenjo-daro, located near the tell, or the highest point in the city. The most distinctive features of the two major cities were their citadels. They had high buildings surrounded by walls and watchtowers. Right up here is the watchtower of Mohenjo-daro. Um, the population of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro could both have been estimated to be around 30,000 people, or about half the size of modern-day Flagstaff, Arizona. There are not many artifacts of the Harappan people left to us today, particularly not many artistic artifacts. But those few that do remain provide some fascinating insights into the kind of society that they built, the things that they valued, and their place within the ancient world. A good example of this is Dancing Girl. Dancing Girl, um, dated to somewhere between 23 and 1700 BCE. It was uncovered by the British archaeologist Ernst Mackey in 1924. It's a 4-inch bronze sculpture made using the locked wax method of bronze casting. It shows a nude young woman or girl, probably no more than 14 or 15 years old, based on the small breasts and the narrow hips. Legs bent in a relaxed pose, one hand on her hip, the other hand holding a small bowl. Some interpretations suggest it was an offering bowl used to bring some sort of sacrifice to a deity, but we really don't know for sure. Um, there's the bowl right there. She wears several bangles on her arms, a necklace around her neck. Her hair is styled in a large bun that rests on her right shoulder. What can we learn about Harappan civilization from this artifact? Well, number one, they had a high degree of metallurgical knowledge. They They knew about the lost wax method of bronze casting, for example. Additionally, some scholars suggest that the statue's features, its wide nose and full lips, might indicate that Harappan peoples regularly traded with or interacted with African peoples. Also, the statue's nudity suggests that they were not shy about depicting the human form. Another artistic artifact from Harappan civilization was Priest King. This object dates to around 2000 to 1900 BCE. It was uncovered by British archaeologists at Mohenjo-Daro in 1925. It's a 7-inch statue made of steatite, a soft metamorphic rock that hardens when baked. The hair is combed back with a diadem of some sort around his head. The beard is neatly trimmed. His expression is somber and relaxed. The narrowed eyes suggesting either solemnity or even boredom. We're not sure which. The embroidered sash around his shoulder also suggests a high-ranking personage of some sort, so somebody very high up in the social hierarchy. What lessons can we draw about Harappan civilization from this artifact? Well, number one, um, it suggests that Harappan civilization had a fair degree of social hierarchy. Also, it suggests that social elites, assuming this person is one, and it's probably a pretty safe assumption, were interested in having their image passed on to the next generation. And also that their social status was indicated by their attire, their comportment within society. Um, Harappan civilization was literate, and its writing can be found on thousands of seals, which seem to have been used for marking bundles of goods sold abroad, as well as on a few fragments of pottery. The writing is of a pictographic form that has not yet been deciphered. Here are some examples of the Harappan or Indus River Valley script. A couple of centuries after 2000 BCE, the Harappan or Indus Valley Civilization went into steep decline. We're not entirely sure why. We do know that their settlements shrunk dramatically, but were not entirely deserted. Uh, Many left, but some remained and or returned. Why? We don't entirely know, although one possible explanation is that a warming cycle in the Earth's climate reduced agricultural yields in the region, creating a crisis in the food base. In any event, around 1500 BCE, a new group of semi-nomadic pastoral peoples from Central Asia started filtering into northern India via the mountain passes in northwest India. Many of them went by the name we still ascribe to the group today, the Aryans. Who were the Aryans? Well, they're a group of semi-nomadic pastoral peoples from the Eurasian steppe. Some experts trace their origin actually to southern Ukraine. They spoke a series of what linguists call Indo-European dialects, which, when combined with the Harappan language of the Indus River Valley's native inhabitants, eventually evolved into Sanskrit. They were also horsemen, great horsemen, herders. They hitched their horses to wagons and to carts, or sometimes to chariots for warfare. But the large, muscular, and swift horses that flourish on the Central Asian steppe do not do well in the sweltering humidity of the Indian subcontinent, so it often became necessary for Aryan settlers to replenish their stock of horses by regularly importing new ones from the north. We also know that cattle were extremely important. Um, Cattle were extremely important to their livelihood, so much so that prices were often measured in heads of cattle. The intermixing of Aryan and Harappan cultures helped lay the foundations of what eventually became the Indian religion. one of the earliest collections of Indian hymns appears in the Rig Veda, Rig meaning verse and Veda meaning knowledge, which was a collection of around 1028 hymns performed during sacrifices and accumulated over the centuries. The Rig Veda was composed between 1500 and 500 BCE, and it is the earliest of the Vedic compositions and tells us about the nature and requirements of the gods. The roots of Hinduism lie in the Vedic religion, but the early practices of the Aryans differed from later Hinduism, which developed very gradually over many centuries. There's no clear origin point for Hinduism, no acknowledged founder or authoritative text of beliefs. Indeed, many scholars do not date the rise of Hinduism until the 7th century CE, after the decline of Buddhism. The deities mentioned in the Rig Veda are nature gods, and the Aryans believed that the soul was immortal and received reward or punishment after death. Aryan religion centered on sacrifice, and serving the gods could be even more demanding than dealing with enemies. The gods depended on sacrifices for strength, and the Aryans depended on the strength of their gods. Without intervention by their gods, it was believed that their cattle would die, their crops would fail, and their enemies would triumph over them in battle. Indeed, the Vedas indicate a preoccupation with warfare. Uh, their chief deity was Indra, a war god, often depicted riding a white elephant and wielding a lightning bolt, very similar to Zeus. Um, celebrated for smashing cities and forts. Success in battle was often linked to appeasing gods such as these. As a result, the priests who conducted these ceremonies, usually called Brahmins, held positions of great importance and eventually became a hereditary class of religious specialists. Priests fathered sons who were trained to become priests and who married the daughters of other priests. A hereditary class of aristocratic warriors also formed, as well as ruling chiefs who passed down power from father to son. All of which brings us eventually to the caste system. The caste system. But we will pick up at this point in part 2 of this video lecture.